The Kui is a musical heritage. It is a unique, creative work, and a story with a profound meaning. Saltanat Kui. The singer of the Kui Shi is Tuligen Mambekov. Legends in music. Wild sorrel and field herbs growing in the gorge slopes greedily reached out their stalks to the spring sunshine. With an easy step, the Jigit descended along a narrow path. His name was Azat. He was a famous Kui Shi in the land. Azat's heart was light. In a very special way, he wanted to enjoy this spring and this day. Azat pulled his hat off of his head, and warm winds stroked his thick black hair with a barely perceptible gray. In one hand he had his dombra, a very common and simple one. But the sound was so pure and deep that many thought she was made with skilled craftsmen of 100-year-old Tian Shan fir tree wood. No, in fact she was the most common, made of pine wood. But in the hot hands of the Kui Shi, she came alive. She could feel everything and understood everything. He looked around as if he saw everything for the first time. Even though he walked back home alone on this road almost every day, for some reason today everything was different. He stopped and tore off the stalk with the delicate young leaves, and drew in his nostrils the fresh mint wormwood flavor. He stopped and tore off a stalk with delicate young leaves, and sniffed the fresh minty abyssinic fragrance. Something jumped inside of him. This smell was so familiar from his early childhood. He thought of his grandmother, who used to make herbal decorations in the winter and had given it to him on winter evenings. He thought of the cold, snowy winter and his childhood, how many, many years ago, when he was a teenager, he walked along this road with his best friend. The Kui Shi struck the strings, and a melody fluttered off of his hands like a bird and flew above the ground. Cold snow crunched, but the two friends did not feel the cold at all. They were returning from a fair, and they were walking in stitches, laughing excitedly, telling each other about their mischievous tricks. Azat carried several dozen eggs in a basket, and his friend had a bundle of round cracknels hanging on his neck. Well, that was so much fun, the kids were laughing. So fun, what a fair it was, Azat laughed. How cleverly we tricked that greedy and fat merchant, Bouquet. Ha 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 ha. The friend Yermek was laughing. Ha ha ha. And I? Azat interrupted him. As soon as he turned away, he took and poured the whole handful of salt all over his candied apricots and halva. I nearly died laughing. When the people came to him to buy the treats, after trying them, they all made a face. Ha 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 ha. Tears sprang down from Azat's eyes from laughter. I put in small stones, Yermek boasted. I put them in a bowl of nuts, and I remember how that rich guy grated his teeth when he decided to treat himself to the nuts. Ha 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 ha. And then he drove at the cellar with his fists. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Yes, serves him right. He really should share his treats with us. But he himself eats so many that his belly cracks open. Hey, Yermek, could you hold this basket? I've got something in my boot, Azat said. And he handed the woven basket of eggs to his friend. He deliberately decided to stop to amuse his friend even more. Azat picked up a stick lying in the snow and began swinging it like a crutch, imitating his grandfather and his words when he finds out about the prank. "Oh, you, Azat, you rascal!" Azat shouted in a hoarse old man's voice. "What have you done again? You're just fooling around, getting people into trouble." "Well, of course, That profiteer Bake had it coming. Good job, my grandson, good job. Ha 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 ha, Yermek laughed and played along with his friends. Aliata, you are fair, as always, and your grandson was right. He punished that greedy Bouquet, and it serves them right, all of them. When they think of deceiving people and selling the old stock and padding their pockets. Hey, son, what are you saying? Azat exclaimed, and put a scarf over his head, representing his grumpy aunt. He's a good man. I always buy his delicacies, and I eat it at night when no one can see. His halva is very good, and when I have guests coming over, I hide it well in the chests and I lock it. I don't have enough even for myself. Azat pulled the scarf from his head and threw it around his neck, and suddenly he became a neighborhood girl, the arrogant beauty Aisolu, and he spoke in a small voice. You naughty, naughty little boy, why are you spoiling sweets? I'm beautiful, and you will not find anyone prettier than me in this land. I always go to the fair and I buy gingerbread and halva. Why do I need these treats though? After all, I am sweeter than honey. I am so beautiful, more beautiful than the sun, more beautiful than the moon even. But who could be more beautiful than me, eh? Ha 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 ha. It was so difficult for grandfather and grandmother to bring Azat up. Not a single day passed by without them scolding their grandson. When a neighbor would complain about him, of the distinguished, respected Aksakal, it is not clear who he would have grown up to be if they had not sent him to learn how to play the dumbra to a kuishi who explained a lot of things to him and instilled in him a love for music. Azat played on and thought about his childhood and about how difficult it was for him to study, how much his unaccustomed fingers hurt for want of habit, how painfully long it took for him to get used to the gut strings while trying to make them play. A rhythmic melody was spreading over the gorge with surprisingly beautiful overflows. The Dombra was telling about the difficulties that he had in overcoming in order to survive and about the victories that he won with his perseverance and hard work. And now people admired his kuis, praising his talent. Kuis always reflect the life and feelings of people. Often kuishi singers composed their kuis to share through them about the adversities and the difficulties of life, various situations that fell to their lot, and how they were able to overcome all of the difficulties and obstacles. Saltanat Kui. Since early morning, Rayhan had started dough for Baursaks, and by evening it had risen with a magnificent cap. The red-hot oil sputtered and sputtered as the girl dropped raw dough balls into the cast-iron cauldron. Her little sister, Kizjan, offered help. She deftly snatched up the rusty Baursaks with a skimmer and carefully laid them on the big dish. The smell of fried dough was spreading all over the house. While her sister was distracted, Kizjan grabbed and quickly put a luscious Baursak into her mouth. She ate it and wiped her greasy lips with the palm of her hand. The girl looked at her older sister and smiled slyly, deciding to play her. She made a serious face and said loudly, "You know, Rayhan, I think you're making progress. This time your Baursaks seem to be edible." Having said this, she retreated a safe distance away and stood in the doorway so that she could easily run away from her sister. Rayhan neatly laid out the lumps of dough in even rows and pretended that she didn't even hear the annoying words of her little sister. Kizjan then came closer and then shouted loudly, "Rayhan, your Baursaks can now be eaten without breaking your teeth." Rayhan then quickly turned around and grabbed that little mischievous girl by her hand. Kizjan tried to escape with a shriek, but her sister held on to her tight. "So, what was it that you said? Come on, repeat it." "Huh? I didn't hear you well." "Now I'll get you," Rayhan exclaimed with a grin. I said, Kizjan said, that your baursaks are tasty. Tasty? Now you wait. Honestly delicious, just like Mom's were. Rayhan froze. She slowly unclenched her fists and then spoke slowly. What did you just say? I said as you heard, Kizjan answered. Like Mom's? Her little sister repeated in a quiet voice. Yes, they're really tasty like Mother's, it's true. Then Rayhan hugged her sister and pressed her tightly into her chest. Her eyes filled with tears, and the girls swallowed and puffed, trying not to let themselves cry. Having mastered the agitation, Rayhan released her sister from her embrace and quickly and fussily threw the remaining dough into the burning oil. The girls looked at the wall clock and then exclaimed, "Oh, look at that! We've been ignoring the time! Dad is coming home soon! Come on, Kizjan, quickly set the table! Take down the plates! Go outside and tell Guljan and Dana to come quickly home! And also, Kizjan," the older sister added, "do not forget to wash the face and hands of Saltanat and Khairat thoroughly." Kizjan nodded and rushed off to follow the orders of her sister. The lights came on in the windows when the father came home. Before he even walked through the door, his little son and daughter were all over him. They happily hung on to his neck, not letting him untie his shoelaces. "Daddy, I've been waiting for you," the youngest daughter Saltanat shouted. "Dad, Dad," his son shouted in his ear. "Why have you come home so late?" "Khairat, my son, I came when I finished work," Toligan answered, and then he stroked his son on his head. "Here, this is for you, son, and this is for you, daughter. But eat them later, after dinner, not now." The children then nodded, and the father took out 2 candies from his pants pocket and handed them to the children. "Okay, now let me take off my shoes," Toligan said. "You better take this bag with milk and bread to the kitchen." Khairat, being older and stronger, snatched the bag from his putsy hands of his little sister and took off down the hall. Saltanat, realizing that he outran her, chased him crying. By the time the father came home, the table was set. Dana and Guljan were sitting opposite each other. Kizjan took her usual place next to her father's chair, and the younger kids, Khairat and Saltanat, sat next to their eldest sister, Rayhan. The father, having greeted all of his children, sat at the head of the table. Rayhan carefully watched everyone, pouring out surpa, and put the baursaks on their plates. After supper, a large porcelain teapot was put onto the table, from which a fragrantly strong tea was poured into the paila cups. This was the family's custom even when their mother was alive. Rayhan stayed behind as the housekeeper, and all the household chores were on her shoulders now. She worked and worked very hard. She especially tried to do everything the way that her mother did. Their parents always drank tea after dinner and talked about their day and discussed plans and things to do for the next day. But now the father did not sit at the table very long, as there was no one to talk with him. Rayhan tried to start a conversation in order to sit next to her father a bit longer. "Now, Dad, you can congratulate Dana and Guljan. Today they both did very well. They've gotten A's." Rayhan praised her sisters. "Well done, dear daughters," the father joyfully shouted. "And you, Kizjan, what did you do today?" "Dad, I didn't get any," the girl answered. "But I did help Rayhan to make baursaks. Tell me, didn't they turn out very tasty?" "Yes, it's true, they did," Toligan said and smiled. "You two are excellent housekeepers." All of a sudden, there was a loud, shrill cry. Khairat, seizing the moment, snatched a candy from the hand of his little sister and without hesitation shoved it into his mouth. Bitter tears coursed down the pink cheeks of the girl, and she, while sobbing, shaking her fist at him, screamed, "I'll tell Mom! When she comes, I'll tell her everything!" Rayhan rushed to comfort her little sister. His heart painfully sunk. He kept looking at his little daughter, who was wiping and spreading tears all over her face. He slowly looked around at his children and thought that it's been 2 years since his beloved Pirnesh, the mother of his children, had died. His faithful and devoted wife, who shared all the joys and sorrows with him. This pain will never go away, and the wound in his soul will never heal. Tears filled his eyes, and he, trying to hide them, rose from the table and took out his dombra. The dombra trembled, and the kuishi sang for a while with his tears falling on his strings. Without raising his head, he began to play. The children got quiet. Rayhan went quietly to her father and laid her hand on his shoulder. The children approached their father, and surrounding him, they sat next to him. For a long time, they listened to their father playing his kui. It had everything in it: the grief of loss, tears, and emptiness. But there was also a hope and faith that he would raise his children to be worthy and happy people. Thus was born the amazingly touching kui, which he named after his daughter, Saltanat. Toligen Mambekov was a dombra player and a kuishi composer. He is one of the best performers of the Shirpe kuis. He learned the performance from a renowned kuishi composer, Sugur Aliyev, and he sang his teacher's kuis. His kuis, which include Saltanat, Mishin, Katkabat, Anama, and Koshtasau, as well as Karatau Shirtpesi, are touching and heartfelt. They talk about his life, full of joyful and tragic events.
Today I will show you how a national musical instrument, dombra, is made. First of all, I carve out the shell of the dombra. I make the necessary measurements. The thickness of the dombra shell should be 3 millimeters. After we carve out the shell, we spray it with water. This is the frame of the dombra. Now the shell details must be bent. I do not press too hard, otherwise I can break them. This wood has been dried for 3-4 years. This is our 9th detail. Now we cut all the details according to the measurements. And then I'll prepare the dombra neck. The neck of the dombra is ready. We put it together with the frame like this. I center it so that it doesn't slide to one side. I installed 2 shell panels in the frame. Now I continue to put together the missing parts. I put the details together. Now wrap the dombra with a rope. This I do to ensure that all parts are glued together well. It's been 8 or 9 hours. I can untie the ropes. This is the top part of the neck, where the dombra's tuning peg is installed. I fixed the neck. The length of the instrument is 48 centimeters. This is the standard dombra. Now I'll prepare the top of the neck. And so everything is ready. I'll install this part on the dombra. It took 4-5 hours. I'll untie the ropes. It must have dried by now. I need a wooden front plate. I tie the latch. I have to prepare the front plate. I take the measurements. The front plate is ready. I will glue the final central rod. It's been 4-5 hours. I close the frame of the dombra with the front plate. Our dombra is almost ready. I put the veneer on the front plate. I am installing the tuning peg. In 1-2 minutes, the dombra will be ready. Every Kazakh family has a dombra. I wish that there is a dombra in every home.